Oh, there you are, YouTube. We start off the day by going to AMC Theaters. We are going to see Martin Scorsese's latest film, Killers of the Flower Moon. Now, this is a movie that we've been anticipating and very curious to see. It is known for its very long runtime, but we're not worried about that. Here's Taylor Swift right here. I hear she's performing very well at the box office, but here we are to see Killers of the Flower Moon again. Leonardo DiCaprio, Robert De Nero, Lily Gladstone. Let's get inside and prepare to see this movie. Flickering lights. Interesting. Off to you, Nicole.
And stories feel perfect and powerful because here they are.
All right, we are back from Killers of the Flower Moon. Just some plot here on what the movie is about. In the 1920s, members of the Osage Native American tribe of Osage County, Oklahoma, are murdered after oil is found on their land, and the FBI decides to investigate. So the question is, you hear a lot about this movie already. The big thing is the runtime. It's around 3.5 hours. I know we got to the theater at 1:30 p.m. and then left at 5:30, so it does take a huge chunk of your day, but I never felt like, hey, this is a long movie, other than noticing parts of the movie. It's like very, I don't know. I don't know if there was no talk surrounding about the length of it, if it would have ever popped into my mind. But it did pop into my mind in a couple of ways. Not like, man, I can't believe I'm still sitting here. But I was never wanting to check the time or anything. To me, it kind of flew by. But the ways in which I was thinking about it seemed like the movie was told in three distinct sections. And I was thinking, oh, this would kind of make a nice 3-part mini-series, because you can tell sort of how it's sectioned off in a distinct way. All of that is there. And in addition to that, the movie also takes on some quiet artistic moments as well. And again, I was never when's this going to be over? But I was surprised. I was wow, with everything that is in this movie that feels, essential for the story, right? To get us understanding what's going on in the movie, who did what, why this might be happening, why that might be happening. Scorsese still took the time to take these slower artistic moments and have us sit through those. And again, I was never oh, this is taking too long, but I was I'm kind of amazed. I shouldn't with Scorsese, but I was thinking about how, wow, look at this. We're still making time for artistic moments like this, to have us sort of punctuate and sit in this area for a moment before we move forward. And I thought that was really great. I'm glad none of that was felt like it needed to be taken out for time or anything like that. So another interesting thing, it's Scorsese, so you're going to find this, but it did feel a lot like his other movies when he's dealing with mafia and gangsters. You sort of have this head person who is telling those underneath him what he needs done. So, it has a casino feel. It has a Goodfellas feel. Obviously I'm thinking of, Coppola's Godfather and things like that. And even though we are set here in Oklahoma, it has that feeling of a lot of his other movies. So you can definitely feel Scorsese in this film quite a bit. In terms of the relationship to, what we think of when we our go-to genre when we think of Scorsese. What usually pops in our head is very much seen here. So I also want to get into the cast a little bit and some of the actors in it, like Leonardo DiCaprio. It's basically around him focused on him. He's the major lead in the movie as Ernest Burkhart, and he's basically moves to Oklahoma to work for his uncle. And his uncle is played by Robert De Niro, and he's playing William Hale, and he's sort of like this big guy who sort of like runs the town, right? And has lots of money, and how he's getting it is definitely not good. And he basically has his nephew move into town to work for him, and he wants to put him not only to use for work, but for some shady things going on too. He wants to sort of create these situations that benefit him, and they get very bad and malicious and terrible, and it's kind of a difficult watch. All of it. I mean, quite a bit. It's a difficult watch. But in terms of acting, I feel like DiCaprio, he does a great job. But it didn't feel like a performance that necessarily is going to, like, when I'm watching it, I'm not like, okay, he's an Oscar winner sort of thing. He's a guarantee nominee sort of feeling. The only spot I really felt that as I was watching was De Niro, as he is even filmed in a way that makes him feel like he's small and kind of scrawny looking. And I feel like I've never really thought that with De Niro ever. Like, he just felt like a very short, scrawny looking man. And like, I don't know, like through camera tricks, I guess, I've just never pictured him that way, and I definitely saw him that way. And he was probably the main performance where I was like, okay, I feel like this is a guaranteed nomination. Not saying it is a guarantee, but it's one when I'm watching it, I feel like, okay, he's the guaranteed nominee. And I don't know who. I think maybe like when I was watching Oppenheimer, I think I might have been thinking that with Robert Downey Jr., if I remember correctly, thinking, okay, there's a guarantee nominee. But De Niro definitely feels that way, and I'm not necessarily feeling that way with Leo for some reason, even though he is very good throughout. Who else do we have? Well, his wife in the movie is played by Lily Gladstone. She plays Molly Burkhart. Another one where I don't feel like she is a guarantee, but a very strong contender for Best Supporting Actress. I mean, maybe, I don't know, what is the news? Is she campaigning as lead? I'm not sure if she's going as lead or supporting, but I can see, again, this is one that I could see happening, but I didn't, like, as I was watching, saying, oh, this is happening, like I did with De Niro. And I feel like those are the main ones. Maybe Jesse Plemons could squeak in there, but I'm sure it's going to be a tough road to get him in. You also have some other heavy hitters that we recognize and know, like Brendan Fraser's in the movie, but he has a very small part. I mean, I don't even know if it adds up to a full minute of him being on screen. It probably does. Maybe it's just a minute. And he is pretty grand in it. Even he uses that very small amount of time to toss out this very big performance, I felt, in the way that Scorsese moved the camera around him. Just felt very, very strong. And then John Lithgow also shows up as well, and I wasn't expecting that, and that was a good performance as well. Nothing that I'm thinking, oh, he's going to get nominated or anything like that. And also, who did we see? We saw some musicians. We didn't see them as we were watching. We didn't catch them, but we saw them in the credits. Like, Jack White is in the movie. I don't know where, but we saw his name and we're like, oh, wow. And Pete Yorn, who my wife's met and spent time with, like after one of his shows, we saw his name and we were like, where was he at? And then we went back and figured out where he was, and I guess we figured out where Jack White was, but I can't remember seeing Jack White's face. But Pete Yorn, it's like, oh, that was him. He just, looked different. We didn't catch it right away. I don't know, were there more here? Any other big names that came through? I mean, there were other people that I recognized and had seen before in things, but those are kind of a lot of the main um, people that, just through years of movie watching that we recognize right away. And I think the entire cast did well, but De Niro to me felt like the standout and the one that may be remembered come Oscar nominations. Again, maybe Lily Gladstone and maybe Leo as well. But to me, it was De Niro that felt like the guarantee. Also, in a lot of movies, Scorsese will include himself, and he does here actually two times. There's one point where a photograph is being taken, and you can hear the person taking the photograph basically like, gather around, stand still, saying stuff like that, and you can tell it's Scorsese's voice. It reminded me of, two movies where he has a cameo, and there's probably more that I'm not thinking of right now, but if you've seen Bringing Out the Dead, he has a voice cameo in that, so it kind of made me think of that. What else does he have of? Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I think he does have more voice cameos, but it made me think of that one immediately. And then also Hugo, where he is a cameraman, right? I've only seen Hugo one time, but obviously in this movie he's taking a picture, so that there was a tie there. But then he also shows up at, I don't know. Okay, maybe skip ahead a little bit, because this could be a spoiler, a fun spoiler that you would rather find out while watching the movie. Did I say fun spoiler? A spoiler. But seeing the director, noticing them, is a fun thing. I don't know, like Where's Waldo sort of thing. But he shows up at the end as well, and it's almost as if he's like playing himself. But the end, in a lot of movies, when they're telling you what happened to everybody beyond where this story ends, like where their paths went, sometimes it's text on a screen, like in American Graffiti. Sometimes it's done with narration, like I think in Jesse James, the Jesse James and the coward Robert Ford. What is it called? The longest title ever, and I can't think of it right now. The Assassination of Jesse James by the Coward Robert Ford. Oh my goodness. That's done in narration, if I remember correctly. And in this movie, it's done as if we are watching a live broadcast of a radio show, a true crime radio show. And we're hearing acted out for radio the futures of all of those people that we just watched in the movie, all those characters, right? And then at the very end, Martin Scorsese walks up to the microphone, and he begins to read Molly, that's who Lily Gladstone was playing, and he begins reading her obituary, and I just started to like weep in the theater when that happened. I think seeing Scorsese pop out, because at the beginning of the movie he talks about he thanks you for coming out to the movie theater to see the film, and talks about how this was a project that meant a lot to him, and then he pops up at the end, actually in the movie, just not presenting the movie, but in the movie. And we know he's getting older. We just read where he talked about there's not much time left for him to continue making movies, and that's extremely sad. So that is on my mind when I'm seeing him. And then also when we are hearing Molly's obituary be read, and I don't know, it was just a very emotional ending, I think, and everything that we went through while we're watching the movie, like all of that is still on you. And I don't know, it created this for some sort of release for me, and I just started crying, and I was like, oh my goodness. I just had all these things going on, I guess, in my head with Martin Scorsese, all the things that I just watched in this movie, that reading of the obituary, just hit me really, really hard. So there's that moment as well with Martin Scorsese. But it's also I feel like it was the ending, not with him because he shows up a little bit afterwards, but that whole section where they're telling us what happened to everybody just was a strong artistic choice, so much that it's almost jarring when it starts happening. And I'm like trying to get a footing. What's going on here? What's going on here? To where I missed a little bit of the dialogue initially because I was just trying to feel grounded in what was going on. Like, are we in the same time period? Have things changed? Or things move forward? What's going on? And then once all that completes, then it has this moment where it moves to contemporary times and shows Osage people. And you know, that too was very moving, still weeping during that moment. So very strong film, even to the credits. Again, the artistry in this movie. There's a moment in the film that where rain is discussed, a storm is discussed, and then in the credits that there's a callback to that, and it's basically a call to you to sit through the credits and not get up and go, like sit through and watch these credits. And I thought that was interesting too. I mean, it felt like an artistic choice and a great way. Like, we always sit through the credits, but here was Scorsese saying, you know, sit down and watch these. Sit down and watch the credits here. That was great. Composer Robbie Robertson from the band, the band, did the score, and it is great. And I don't know if it was his very last score, but and I didn't know this prior, but he passed away, so there was in memory of him in the credits as well. But the score was really good. So I just thought it was a great movie. Scorsese, I mean, he's when has he not been on the top of his game? I mean, it's amazing what he's still capable of doing. I don't know. Should I be amazed? I don't know. I think we get in our head sometimes that, or especially with with what Tarantino says. You know, Tarantino's like, well, I think there's only a good 10 films in every director or something like that, and that's why he's going to stop after his 10th film. And it's like, but look what Scorsese's doing. It's amazing what he's still able to do. Like, I think that's what was on my mind a little bit when he popped out. And he was reading, like, I had the weight of the movie sitting on me, and then I'm also thinking about, like, wow, this this is going to be one of his last movies, and it's just wild because he's such a strong filmmaker, and this movie continues to show that. This was a story that felt like it really needed to be told, and it this version of it was, I guess, is very different than the book. I think maybe the book was more centered around Jesse Plemons' character who's from the FBI to investigate, but he really doesn't show up until like the third act, and then he sort of takes over. But again, I haven't read the book. I don't know. I'm kind of bouncing around now, but it was a very strong movie, very moving, bleak in areas, and just so strongly acted, put together, edited, composed. The cinematography is wonderful. The artistic choices throughout were great, and it did not feel too long to me at all. So I mean, it could have kept going. But yeah, I guess so. Now I know I just spent 17 minutes talking about the movie, but we gotta watch our movie for October. We gotta head to the Halloween Advent calendar to find out what we are watching today. So let's go do that.
Number 20.
October 20th. Oh, what are we watching? Antlers. All right, this will be a first time watch. Very cool. We picked up our copy from the library. And before we start the movie, we got some pizza And this comes from Jets. It's that Detroit style with that really good, crisp edge right there. So we'll be eating this while we watch Antler. Antler or Antlers? Antlers. Okay, so this was really strange. I can't believe we got this movie the same day that we watched Killers of the Flower Moon, because in Killers of the Flower Moon, we are, obviously the movie is about Native Americans, and in that movie we're hearing the I believe it's just the Osage language. If it has a different name, I'm not sure about that. But we're hearing that language in the movie, and then we're watching Antlers when we start that movie, and then we hear a language, and I was like, wait a second, I looked it up, and it's the Ojibwe. I might be saying that wrong. Language, Native American language, and I was like, whoa, wait, is this a Native American movie as well? And it does, touch on that a little bit. And I was just like, that's just weird, because we did not plan that. That randomly happened, that we have, Native Americans in both movies. But not only that, Jesse Plemons is in both movies as well. So Jesse Plemons in Killers of the Flower Moon is in the FBI, and then in this movie he's playing a cop, and it's just like, what the heck, how did this happen? Gosh, I think there was even another, was there one more crossover? I think there was, maybe not another person. Oh, I remember. So this is different, but as we were watching Antlers, there's this kid in the movie, and his house is Mulder and Scully's house. And my wife, when she saw that, because she's like the world's biggest X-Files fan, she screamed when she saw their house. She was like, that's Mulder and Scully's house. And that was pretty funny as well. So yeah, Antlers, it's basically, we watched, it was either last year or the year before, we watched the movie Wendigo. And this movie's kind of like that. A Wendigo creature terrorizing an area, creating other Wendigo, passing its soul from person to person. This movie, I think, moves kind of slow. This movie's only an hour and a half, right? An hour and a half. We also watched Killers of Flower Moon, which felt like it just sped by. This movie only an hour and a half instead of 3.5 hours, and it felt very slow to me. The pacing was slower. I felt the length of it, and I think I would have felt the length even if I hadn't already watched a 3.5 hour movie. Its pacing felt slow, where Killers of the Flower Moon's pacing did not feel slow to me. It felt like deliberate and moving along. So yeah, there was that. Kerry Russell's in the movie. It has a huge Amy Madigan. Has a pretty big, impressive cast, but something about it felt a little bit, I don't know, lower budget. Like, oh, I'm surprised to see all of these people in this movie, sort of thing. In a way, I don't know. It was also really pretty to look at. It had a lot of great cinematography within it. I don't know. I guess I don't have too much to say, but my favorite animal, if somebody asks what my favorite animal is, I usually say a deer, but I love anything with antlers. So, yeah, I don't know about these creatures, the scary Wendigo, but, glad to have seen the movie, but I don't know, it didn't grab me like some of the others that we've watched this year. It just felt like another movie I've watched, another horror movie I've watched. But after watching Killers of the Flower Moon, maybe that's why I watched this another masterpiece by master director Martin Scorsese, and then followed up with just another horror movie. you know, but it was and I think Guillermo del Toro produced this. Anyway, I saw him in the special features, pictures of him. Anyway, so I don't know. I didn't look into it too deeply, but again, the standout of the two movies, definitely Killers of the Flower Moon. Antlers was pretty cool. Check it out. It's pretty gory actually. It has very good, like you don't well you do see one of the kills, but they show you the aftermath and all of that. I don't know, kind of has like a Walking Dead vibe, like when Walking Dead like really gets it right and it looks awesome. That's kind of where it goes in this movie. So anyway, yeah, feel free to check out Antlers if you haven't seen it. I think it's good for a one-time watch. I might watch it again, though. Maybe I should watch it on a day where I just didn't watch a masterpiece. So maybe give it a fairer shot, perhaps. But yeah, thank you so much for watching these reviews, this video, and perhaps we'll see you tomorrow for more Pure Hangout.